the machine doesn't know it's a man or woman flying it. Similarly, the chair of the CEO doesn't know who's sitting on it, right? Whether it's a female or a male.
So good evening and welcome to all the app geeks around the world. Welcome to another exciting episode of Airworthy Talks by Udan Aviation Academy. And for today's podcast, we have with us one of the gems of Indian civil aviation industry, CEO of Alliance Air, Harpreet Edi Singh, ma'am. Ma'am, good evening. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm perfectly fine. Thank you so much.
Right, ma'am. So, you have worn several hats throughout your decades-long experience in civil aviation industry. Please talk us through your journey of becoming an airline CEO.
Okay, so I actually began as a pilot, and I graduated from Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Udan Academy, and I had a lot of interesting challenges to get there in the first place. So it was quite interesting because we are talking about the early 1980s, and that time there were no women in aviation. There's no proper support system for women to learn flying. So I did my private pilot license from Hisar, though I started from Andhra Pradesh Flying Club. And I remember when I went to Hisar, I used to, go on a moped into the flying club because traveling 20 kilometers through a jungle, and they didn't even have toilets for women. And it was a huge problem on how you're going to manage to learn how to fly. But that's all history now. If we look at today, things have really, really changed. And as I entered the airline industry with Air India, unfortunately, I had a medical issue. So I did not continue as an active pilot. But I went to the United States. I got all my instructor's licenses. And I used to teach in the simulator, fixed-base simulator, IPT, instrument procedures, and teach all other ground subjects involved with aviation. And I got my licenses validated in the US. So I still had a current flying license from the US. And then came back to Air India in my second stint as a trainer. So actually, I joined the ops training department. And I was involved with pilot training for many years. And I kept moving forward and forward. I started writing the manuals, the training content, the technical information, the SOPs. And I grew as a training manager. And I was not only doing the training, I was organizing the training. My thing was I never said no to a new, scope of work. I was always a person willing to learn. And I think that's what has made me eventually reach the CEO position, because I never felt that, just be in your comfort zone and don't try to do something different. And in fact, I did a lot of firsts in aviation because I just took the initiative. And it was not just in Air India, it was in the country itself. Like new topics would come up, regulatory compliances had to be met. I remember when RVSM came, when TCAS 2 was introduced after the Chakri Dadri crash, and then there was RNAV procedures, there was CNS ATM. So everything I took the lead to actually, study, go and find out the information, coordinate with DGCA, and I kept growing in those areas. And finally, it reached a point that I was doing all the DGCA coordination, getting all the regulatory approvals, conducting training. So I had a strong operational background, both for pilots, for flight engineers, for cabin crew, for flight dispatchers. That's how I grew. Eventually, I got into IOSA. So I was the lead auditor, evaluator, and I set up the quality management system, which never existed in any airline.
In India, right?
Yeah, in India. So, it was like starting benchmarking what is quality and how are we going to measure performance and how are we going to measure safety standards, etc. So I was a quality head for many years. And that really enhanced my knowledge, because in every department, whether it was maintenance, whether it was commercial, finance, whether it was commercial, scheduling, and, I just got to learn so much because of being in IOSA. And also I was on the IATA Council for the IOSA Oversight Council. So I kept growing and learning. And then eventually I became the chief of flight safety. And all these, many times I was not only the first woman, I was the first Indian, So I feel very proud of that journey, because I have to be grateful to Air India because they supported me, but I was also willing to work. So it's a combination, you have to take the initiative and the airline has to support you. And I got into Ground Operations Council of IATA. We started ISEGO standards, IATA Safety Audit for Ground Operations. And then eventually Chief of Flight Safety, which was again, for the first time, a woman becoming Chief of Flight Safety in the country. created a lot of noise here and there. Oh, now we have a woman. And then on top of that, I had a second issue that I was not an active pilot, and it is a large airline. But I was a trainer of pilots. So, DGCA was very happy with me because they said that, you are always available to do the work. And that time when we started doing safety management system, which had just been introduced by ICAO. So again, I was the first one who wrote all the SOPs, even to help DGCA for the, safety management systems, emergency response. I handled 2 accidents. So I've been the emergency response director. I conceptualized Angels of Air India. So all that, what I'm trying to say is I did a full 360. When you do a 360 of an organization, that's when they look at you as a CEO. Why I mentioned all these things is because you take initiative, you have diversification, you have specialization, but you also have diversification. And as a CEO, you need good management skills. And since I was a human factors facilitator, by the way, I was also the first CRM facilitator in the country. And I built a lot of database for how to conduct CRM courses and how to practice it in the simulator, etc. So I think the human skills combined with knowledge base of a 360. So I was pleasantly surprised when I was chosen as a CEO. And I've had a brilliant journey in the last 9 months in Alliance Air. But just to tell you, from tomorrow onwards, I'm moving on into a new role. So I'm going to be the executive director headquarters, which is again a very challenging task because we are sitting at the center of disinvestment happening. And to be in headquarters means like an executive director headquarters means you have to coordinate with everyone and you have to make sure that whatever the government is wanting and the vision is seen through. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. But as of yesterday, I have been the CEO and I feel 9 months like I've delivered a baby where I have separated Alliance Air from Air India, given it a new image, a new brand, a new identity. And now Alliance Air is known as Alliance Air as a unique brand, whereas earlier it was lost in the Air India, setup.
Air India shadows,
Air India shadow. Even the booking, it's going to, within 1 or 2 months, you will see you'll have to book separately for Alliance Air. So I'm very happy to the government of India. I'm grateful to them, to my CMD and to the management for giving me these kind of opportunities. So as a CEO, I've really enjoyed myself, experienced great learning, and an experience that I'm going to continue forever because as a CEO, you learn a lot, which is of a different type.
Absolutely right, ma'am. You have been the many first across the different fathoms of aviation industry and being the first female CEO within a commercial airline was the many first which you had. Now, when we talk about the lives of the CEO, we come across the names like Sundar Pichai or with that to Aditya Ghosh and Vinay Dubey. How has been your life as an airline CEO? Or what is the day in the life of an airline CEO which you had?
Okay, my day may be unique to me, but my day starts at 3:45 in the morning.
Wow.
And it ends at about 11, you can say, in the night. And I've never thought of myself as a CEO, to be very honest. I always thought of myself as a trustee of a very important function. And why I say trustee is because when you're a CEO, it shouldn't get into your ego. Like, I'm the boss and only I know what is to be done. So when I would, in a detached way, say that I am a trustee, I would relate to everyone around me as equals, like people who have a lot of knowledge. They need a sense of direction, which the CEO will provide. They need amalgamation of ideas. They need teamwork, cooperation, coordination, and the spirit and the commitment to make Alliance Air the #1 carrier. You as a CEO, you have to get the people together. You have to make sure that decision making is done in such a way. So when you talk about my day, 3:45, I wake up. 4 o'clock, I conduct certain meditation courses for people. By 5 o'clock, I'm again into my yoga and little bit of meditation, and I'm already thinking what is my action plan for the day. So in your quiet time, you always have an agenda. For today, this is important, and this is what we need to do. And you always reflect on the day before. And once you get to work, my thing was always, you can ask anyone in Alliance Air, I was always the first person to get to work. So I have my first 1 hour where I'm by myself and I'm already planning, coordinating everything. And then we would have regular DEP-head meetings, regular interaction with the employees. I use the IT platforms to use a lot of feedback.
Right.
And what I did not want is people having infighting. I wanted clear direction where we are all on the same page. And my day would end with, maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the night, depending on what is the job, the immediate requirements. But I would never be tired. And I think what is important in a CEO's life is you're like the son, because you're like the father of that organization. You have to give energy to people. You can't be drawing energy. A good leader is one who gives energy. So you need to be full of confidence, full of good energy. And as a CEO, you're doing justice to your role when people can take that energy from you and feel empowered. And they themselves then put the energy to their own, juniors and subordinates. So that would be a little summary of what I would visualize as a day in the life of a CEO.
Right, ma'am. And, the headlines, they speak about themselves, whether it is purchase of the new indigenous aircrafts under the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme, or launching the environmental management system. I remember you launching the environmental management system on the Environment Day, and then coming and joining the session as well. So it talks volumes about you.
Yeah.
But ma'am, the industry has not been so women friendly throughout the years. I mean, you have had a name for yourself purely because of your hard work and energy that you have put across your different job roles. So how difficult is it been for you and for other women to have a name for themselves in this male-dominated aviation society in India?
Okay, I can take my personal example. Of course, there are challenges. There's no doubt, because you are treated differently. And especially when I'm talking about 30 years back, things have changed now. If you look at the modifications, and it's important to keep breaking the glass ceiling, because it's not just you getting a position. It is you getting that position means you're enabling the next 50, 100 to also take those positions.
Absolutely.
Because then there's a precedence already set, so that is what is important. But having said that, when I'm at work, the reason I could get around this male-female issue is because I never thought I'm a female. I always thought I'm a human being there, and I'm there to do the work, and I am going to do it in the best possible way.
Right.
And I think when you remove these kind of barriers in your thoughts that I am a lady, I need this kind of benefit, I should be able to go home early, I should be able to get some special concession. I never asked for anything. I said, I'm here to do the work, and I will do it in the best way possible. And I think the men appreciate that. They like the fact that you're not playing the woman's card. They like the fact that you're willing to give your 100%, that kind of thing. Over a period of time, you have to earn their respect first. And once the respect is earned, they themselves actually open up. And, you can share jokes together. And you don't act like a woman. I mean, I will talk about that little later, that women have strength of their own, which you can harness, But just when you talk about the pure work front, like the machine doesn't know it's a man or woman flying it. Similarly, the chair of the CEO doesn't know who's sitting on it, right? Whether it's a female or a male. But you have to still do justice to that chair. So I would say a lot of it is presenting yourself properly. When you present yourself properly, people around you, even if they have initial objections, be a powerful woman. Make sure those objections are removed. You have to win their heart. You have to win their respect. And when that is done, then it becomes smooth sailing.
Absolutely right. And you have put it in a very good way, ma'am. The chair doesn't know whether it's a male or a female. The chair just knows how the job is to be done.
Absolutely.
And frankly, you have taken the industry to the new heights and have become a role model for a lot of women in India. I mean, when I scroll across Instagram feed and see your post by different social media pages that, Harpreet Edie Singh, the first female CEO in India, and all of that, and then there are thousands of people liking it. It itself shows the respect of what you have earned through the masses in the years of hard work which you have put into.
Right.
I know, ma'am, you have been doing a lot of empowering work for women within the aviation industry. But I want our viewers to know as to what sort of different initiatives which you have done or which you are currently doing to empower women's within our beautiful industry?
So it's very important for women, firstly, in general, I will speak, to use their natural strengths. Women, everyone is blessed, with male or female, with IQ as well as EQ. But women tend to naturally have a little better EQ in general, I'm saying. So sometimes women try to start acting like a man, in an environment which is not required. I mean, if you have an EQ, a natural emotional connect, when you want a job done, let them feel emotionally connected to, passionately connected to that task. So sometimes women forget to use the natural advantage that they have. Okay, so you learn to harness that, but without differentiating that I'm a man or a woman, that way. Coming to empowering women, mostly they need the strength of confidence, especially to be pilots, to be engineers. If I go back so many years ago, I'm very proud of this organization which I joined, called Indian Women Pilots Association, and I've been the president of it now for the last many years. And I've always believed that if you have reached a certain position, it is your duty to empower other women, show them the way. You'll feel happier when more and more women are there. And we can proudly say that it is due to the IWPA. I'm 100% sure about this, because we have actually taken a lot of effort to motivate women to become pilots in India, that India has the largest number of women pilots in the entire world as a percentage. Because if you look back into the history, we were never the most advanced country to get into women becoming pilots. But if you look at IWPA as a charitable trust and the kind of work we have put in, even the parents, talking to the parents, talking to the family members because they have doubts. मेरी लड़की कर पाएगी क्या, like, उसमें इतने पैसे लगेंगे, should I save it for her marriage or should I save it for this career, and guiding them, helping them, mentoring them. And I think that confidence building with few of us and then encouraging more and more to join every day is one of the reasons that India has the largest women. Now we have even expanded the role. We call it International Women Professionals in Aviation and Aerospace, because we realized we have a lot of women in aerospace today, and there are so many other areas: safety, quality, engineering, line maintenance. Today we don't have as many AMEs who are women. We have more women pilots than what we have women AMEs. And we realized that we had to expand the scope, whether it's ATC controllers. So today in IWPA, the logo is IWPA, but it stands for two different acronyms. It started as Indian Women Pilots, and now it is International Women Professionals. And we are really supporting this cause and helping. So if there are any women who need our help in any way, please reach out to us. And we have also now joined with all of you to promote aviation through the BBA and MBA courses in aviation. So that is really nice. And we are proud of Udaan Academy, who's doing all these courses. So we are willing to support in any way.
Absolutely right, ma'am. Thank you so much for that, appreciation into what, what not only Udaan is doing, but also what you have done as well, and what the other women within the industry have been doing. I mean, with my meetings with you across several times, the idea was always to empower not only women, but also men's in aviation. Everyone in aviation, right? So that has always been.
You remember you came to my office and how much time it took me to take a decision. On the same day, I said, we're going ahead. So one thing also, when you are a CEO or when you are a decision making, even as I'm the president of IWPA, I'm also the chairperson of Aeronautical Society of India, which is a male, since you said male, female, that has both. The point is, you can't keep delaying and postponing decisions.
Right, ma'am. So one of the major, common question which students ask me, and this is something which I want sort of to be answered by you, because you have been there, done that, is that a lot of aviation aspirants, they find themselves thinking about joining the industry at a very entry level point, whether as a ground staff or whether as a customer service executive. But then what temperament should they develop to enter into senior management positions, or how should they pace themselves to be into those senior management positions or decision-making positions, whereby they could sort of reflect a lot of their learnings, because we see a lot of students doing programs like MBA, but then they don't have the EQ or the IQ to have that senior management or senior level decision making thought process. So what is your mantra for such students?
So, if the student is already aspiring for senior management positions once they join, they have to keep looking around as to what all is happening, the latest in the industry. Number one,
Right.
it's not just doing your one job. You should always be aware what's happening in the industry. You should always be on the top of it in terms of knowledge. And you should also be willing to take on additional responsibilities. They will all come as hidden opportunities. Your boss will just suddenly say, oh, there's a new requirement now, who's going to do this? And there'll be people who will be saying, oh no, they'll just walk away, they're not interested in more work. And you say, okay, I'll do it. That's one. And the second thing is, try to diversify, because if you in aviation both survive. The specialist is very much required, because an AME, that is his expertise. A pilot, that's his expertise. Like, he'll become maximum examiner, a training captain and examiner. But if you're
Right.
trying for management positions, you need to know everything. You can't be, I'm only a pilot, I'm only an engineer, I'm only a ground person, I'm only a commercial. If you are not knowing the big picture, if you can't understand finance, if you can't understand commercial aspects, how will you run a business?
Right.
So somewhere for the students, I feel, firstly, you should see your own interest.
Right.
And if you're really passionate about management, then you have to have a wider range of knowledge. So you can be specialized in something, but you should know other areas fairly well to be a good
Absolutely.
management person. Yeah.
Absolutely right, ma'am. And I think there has been a tectonic shift as to how education was previously and how it is perceived today. Previously, education was more sort of imparting knowledge, and today there is a shift of imparting new skills.
Right.
It's not only about the knowledge, but the student should have also basic skill sets. And connecting to what you just said, according to you, what are the top three skill sets which an aviation professional should have within them, basically?
So, firstly, a spirit of resilience, because I'll tell you, in aviation, things change very rapidly. You'll
Right.
have flight disruptions, you'll have things which you never thought. There's always, every day is crisis management.
Right.
So, you really need to be, the second quality is that you should not get stressed. Because if you're a person who keeps working under stress, you will not be able to do the right thing. So,
Right.
resilience, handling stress capability, very strongly required. And third is dedication and understanding of the entire, like when an aircraft lands, what all are the activities around. So what happens is that you have to know the big picture if you
Right.
really want to be successful. Otherwise, you will be lost and you will not be able to coordinate and give a good result.
Right.
So I would say these three are very important for the
Right.
aviation.
Right, ma'am. And the students, yes, it's the age of technology, and what you just mentioned is equally important. But then students these days are surrounded with a lot of noise around them, the noise of social media and the noise of technology around them. So within this hustle and bustle of new technology and in the age of social media, what role do you think spirituality can play with the students to sort of overcome this mindset, and how they could pace their day? Like you just mentioned, how could they pace their day or pace their life with the element of spirituality, meditation, and yoga into picture?
I personally say that it's 100% requirement if you want to be happy in life. What
Right.
is being a CEO or what is being a great professional if you're not happy, right? So and when you are happy, you do your job happily. And when you are joyful from inside, everybody else around you is also joyful. There's a vibe that you create, and the vibration
Absolutely.
is such that everybody is happy. And
Right.
that is the vibration that you need in aviation, because aviation, we say, like the power of the flight and to look at the world in a detached manner from the sky and, be able to reflect and to
Right.
understand what's really going on is very important. And for these, I would highly recommend, if you're not a very religious person, you don't have to be religious. You can be just spiritual, right? As long as you give time to yourself, for your soul, to be
Right.
calm, peaceful, what we call quiet time, where you can reflect on the day's activities, where you can analyze lot of answers to your questions, even the doubts at work, they get resolved in your quiet times. They get
Right.
resolved in your meditation times. You will know exactly what to do. If you have a tiff with your colleague or with your boss, you will even know how to deal with that. So what happens is it makes the environment so healthy, so pure. I've always believed there are three elements. It's not just the IQ. IQ, of course, is very important for any job.
Right.
Then comes the EQ. The emotional connect is very important, which meditation helps us with, because it helps you to treat people in a loving manner, right? The
Right.
emotional connect, you can see from his eyes he's not happy today. So
Right.
you know how to deal with him, the emotional connect. But the third, for me, the most powerful one is the what I call PSQ, pure soul quotient.
Wow.
Anything that you do with purity, with good intention, with no malice towards anyone, with actually meaning well in a truthful manner, nothing can stop you from achieving your goals, because God Himself comes to do it for you. That's what
Absolutely.
I've always believed in. You just integrate this IQ, EQ, and PSQ. Give time to each one of them. You'll not only be joyful in your work, and if you're not joyful, you will never do a good job. That's also a fact. You'll always
Absolutely.
be disgruntled. And let me remind everyone, you may say, oh, I tried all this, but I did not become CEO. Stop expecting. You are living a life exam. Sometimes somebody may be just a middle management person, but he's passing the life exam in a much better way than the CEO himself, right?
Right.
So God is testing you. This whole life is like an exam. So when you're progressing in life, you marry your personal life, your professional life, and your spiritual life in such a way that nothing disturbs you. I
Right.
always tell my friends and colleagues, be the ocean. The waves will come and go, but you are the ocean. And as kids, we used to play snakes and ladders.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
fun used to happen. You throw the dice and you're just about reaching it to the top and you're on the ladder. And then the snake comes and bites you and right at the bottom. Take life as a fun, as a game of snake and ladder. One day you're on top, one day you're bottom, but it doesn't matter to you, because everything is a learning.
Yeah.
Everything is a progress. And this is how spirituality helps you, because spirituality helps you not only to take care of people, you take care of your own self. You remain happy, you remain content, and you remain undisturbed. When
Right.
you're undisturbed, you get a lot of strength, and when you have a lot of strength, you will always do a good job. They're all interrelated.
Wow.
So
That's a
that's
that's
my
a very good learning, and I'm taking this definitely home and definitely applying it to myself as
okay.
well. The EQ, IQ, and the PSQ relation which you talked about,
Yeah,
that's a definite thing to have. Now,
thank
ma'am, thank you, ma'am, and um, you have seen aviation industry through different lenses, whether it is from the eye of the trainer or the eye of the CEO. What is that one major thing which you would like to see within the aviation industry or the Indian aviation industry particularly, so that it becomes or it goes to the next level? Uh, like
I
yes, we
would
are.
love to
Yeah.
see. Oh, sorry, you can complete your question.
No, no, ma'am. Yeah, please, please
Okay, so
proceed.
I would love to see collaboration.
Uh-huh.
I'm a person who always believes in unity. Like, I feel if the government of India, the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Civil Aviation, the air traffic control, the airways, all of
Right.
that, they work together with the airlines, they work together with the airports, they work together with the regulatory frameworks,
Right.
and we actually harness our energies together. We always have these platforms to improve. I'm telling you, India, as it is, has a highly depicted growth rate, keeping this COVID situation out. But the fact remains, we can really do magic when we
Uh-huh.
collaborate. Why I went in for this HAL signing the MOU for the Dorniers is this very thought. India needs, in the Northeast, ALG, advanced landing grounds, very complicated runways where a lot of safety requirements to be met, and they want to produce their own airplanes. But for so many years in aviation, not one civilian airline wants to go and take the lead. And that's why I felt, and maybe I'm also an NCC cadet, and my father was in the Indian Air Force, and I always felt, how come that they're so scared? And I spoke to the ministry. I said, no, we'll go ahead and do it. So they were pleasantly surprised that for a change, we have a CEO who's equally motivated to do something for the country. And so when you sign this MOU, of course, it's yet to be put into place, but at least the ball is rolling into this direction. Absolutely. And the fact is that was a big step. That now, what are we doing? We're collaborating with our own internal Indian aircraft manufacturers, HAL.
Right.
And we are going to fly the Dornier and help not only the civilians in those remote areas, also help the defense forces, because they will get a lot of, infrastructure and support because of civil aviation also coming in.
Absolutely.
So there's a state government collaboration with Arunachal Pradesh, etc. So when the country comes together, aviation will be just booming. That's my focus.
Absolutely right, ma'am. And you have rightly said, we live in the age of collaboration and not competition, actually.
Absolutely.
And certainly that is what I see across, not only in aviation sector, but also across different sectors, is that, having the best of different fields and collaboratively making the entire ecosystem work in a greater way. Right, ma'am? I think the journey has been very good so far. I would just like to sort of ask, final question to you. What's next for you? Yes, you have mentioned you are going to be the executive director for the entire HQ operations. But what is that you aim to achieve out there, or that is something which you just, do as you go?
So to be honest, I have yet to join that function tomorrow. So I will be briefed properly in detail tomorrow. But from what I've got the subtle hints so far is that, Air India is getting disinvested. And there is a major activity, a very critical activity, which is required to be done, which involves coordination with every department.
Right.
Every department of the organization. And because I'm coming with the CEO background, and now I've worked with all departments, and there will be so much of synergy required. Right. And if this bid goes through, we don't know who the final buyers will be, and all that is going on. But this transition has to be handled like a change management exercise.
Right, ma'am. So what is your journey forward? You have been an CEO. What is your journey forward? You mentioned about being the, a director of the HQ. What is that you have in mind going forward? Is it something which you already have planned, or you will do as you go?
So I will know more details tomorrow, because tomorrow I would be reporting in that new position. But from some of the information that I've informally received so far, it appears that I would be basically the catalyst for change, because there's going to be a big change management happening when the new owners will take over if the bids go through. And I would have to do the coordination with every department. We are talking of risk, we are talking of change management, we are talking of so many aspects which have to be aligned, realigned. And unless you have a job knowledge of so many different aspects, you will not be able to do it. So I think this is what I anticipate. I will know in more detail tomorrow. But I think this is why I've been chosen for headquarters, because that would be the policy point where everything else would be, synchronized with the headquarter movement.
Absolutely right, ma'am. Thank you so much for that wonderful discussion on the lens of an airline CEO. Ma'am, one thing which we do here for all our podcasts is to have a rapid fire round.
Okay.
And this is something which we do with all our different guests, and sometimes we find very fascinating answers, and I'm sure that this time it won't be no different. So, ma'am, my first rapid fire question to you is, we all love aviation and we all love aircraft. So what is your favorite commercial aircraft?
787.
787. Wow. Purely because of the fuel efficiency, it saves you a lot of money.
Maybe I worked so much promoting 787, less noise, more fuel efficient, and So I think it's a game changer in the aviation world.
Right. With aviation comes a lot of travel, ma'am. So what is your favorite travel destination in India and around the world?
I don't have any one travel destination. I love to see every city, the remotest corner. So I don't think it'll be fair for me to give one name.
Okay. Very well said. That's how CEOs they answer
Yeah.
generally. Ma'am, my next question to you is one thing that you have started doing in this pandemic, which you were not doing previously.
So in the pandemic, we started with SOPs, which were written purely for pandemic, like deep cleaning of aircraft, wearing the masks, adjusting our catering schedules, making sure that the cabin crew, the gowns that they were wearing, the cockpit procedures, the web check-in, a lot of IT based, so that there's not much of social distancing norms are properly respected. So I would say the changes were all the various new elements of the SOPs, and the
Right.
biggest change was focus on cargo. Cargo became the new area of focus, where we could
Okay.
transport, like we did organ transportation in Lions Air. I just took a decision and delayed a flight, and I saved 4 lives. I means
Wow.
not me, the whole passenger team. We took their permission, delayed the flight, and transported the live organs. So what I'm trying to say is that when we look at cargo and when we look at the uniqueness that COVID has brought in, we've picked up new things.
Mhm. Absolutely right. And when cargo has turned out to be the hidden money, which was already there, but then this pandemic has shown the absolute importance of it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right, ma'am. For the last 2 weeks, there has been a lot of buzz around space tourism, and rich people are building their rockets and flying to space. So, if given an opportunity to become a space tourist, which space company which you will be flying with? Either it
Amazon.
is Amazon's Jeff Bezos. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Is there any favorite?
I
Why not Richard Branson?
I really admire. No, because he went higher than Branson.
Branson. Yes. Okay.
And also, I believe a man who started in a garage. And I don't know, Amazon, or maybe I have also a soft corner. My son works in Amazon.
There you go. There you go. Ma'am, you have done a lot of work around, connecting the regional parts of India with Alliance Air, and a lot of new sectors have opened around you. How big of a threat do you feel are bullet trains to this regional air transport connectivity?
I don't
Because,
see it as a threat.
okay.
I think in India, there's a space for everything.
Uh-huh. Okay, ma'am. My final question to you in the rapid fire section is: if not aviation, then what else you would have done for a living?
I would have helped people become more spiritual, grow as good human beings, and I would have started my own training and auditing university.
Wow. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. That was an excellent podcast session with you, ma'am. Thank you for your time. And I wish you
Thank
all the
you.
best for your future
Thank you.
ventures. And thank you so much for being the absolute, roadmap for a lot of people, a lot of aviation aspirants to flourish within the aviation industry, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for being such a good mentor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Subhashish. Good luck to all of
Thank
you
you.
as well in your ventures. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, ma'am.